We got our kitchen redone a few years ago, and my contractor was like, okay, what do you want? And I was like, ask yourself, would Joanna Gaines do this? And then do it. I was like, I want white subway tile with black grout. I want wooden metal accents. I want shiplap. Hi everyone, and welcome to Cooking with Pastors. I'm Chef M, and this is Pastor. Say hi, Pastor.
So I know a lot of people may not know me, but I'm a lot more than a pastor. I'm a Hi.
I know everyone has their own grandma's cookie recipe, but this is my husband's grandma's recipe, and honestly, it just means so much that I can share it with you. She is gonna love this. Today, we are going to be making sugar cookies for your Christmas Sweet watch party. Make sure that you go to christmassweet.com to find out when the premiere date is gonna be, and we're gonna make these cookies. This is our kid recipe.
Oh, fun.
So I expect to see all you kids posting pictures. Asher, I'm talking to you specifically. I wanna see those pictures of some Christmas cookies. Let's get started.
Let's do it.
Okay, we're gonna be using Grandma's recipe, and to show you, it's right here in my beautiful grandma's handwriting. So we need a cup and a half of sugar and a cup of butter. So can you open up 2 of the butters and put them in here for me?
Of course.
And I will measure out the sugar. So while we go, feel free to ask any questions, and I'll tell you all my tips and tricks.
All right, so with the butter, I'm noticing that this is not straight out of the refrigerator.
No, it's
How
nice
long
and
does it need to
soft.
warm?
I leave it on the counter overnight, but honestly, just until it's room temperature.
Okay.
You want it to be soft because then it's easier to mix. And if you don't want to mix this by hand, you could use a hand mixer or like a KitchenAid to do it.
Okay.
All right. So now you're going to do this part because I don't want to. You're just going to kind of smash the butter with the flour and then whip it, kind of mix it really until it's soft and starting to get fluffy.
All right.
So you go do that, and I'll start on our next portion.
Which is?
Which is measuring out our dry ingredients. So when you make cookies, you do it in 2 stages. Wet, which is going to be your butter, vanilla, some cream in this recipe, and then you add in your dry in 2 batches. And you do it in 2 batches so that the dough stays really fluffy and doesn't get crispy.
Okay.
Because a crisp cookie is a biscuit, not a cookie. Okay. We're gonna need this next, this, and this. So, Grandma's recipe calls for a teaspoon of baking soda and a teaspoon of baking powder. Now, I'm gonna put them right into this little mixing bowl, or this little measuring cup, so that I know I have them all measured correctly.
All right, so with this, how deep in do we want to get the sugar?
Keep going.
All right.
I'll tell you when to stop, and it will be a while.
All right.
And Grandma's recipe also says flour, and then it just says to stiffen or nice to handle. And that's not a measurement, Grandma. So what I'm going to tell you is start with 2 cups of flour.
Okay.
And then we'll add more as we need it. We're going to figure out how many cups she actually meant. You guys can keep count at home and comment below with how many cups Grandma meant.
Sounds good.
Making it school too. So I'll start by measuring out 1 cup because we're doing this in batches.
Okay.
And I'm actually going to reach over you and grab
Go
this
ahead.
knife. Because it's important when you're baking to make sure that you measure everything correctly and level it off so that you're not getting too much or too little.
Grandma could have learned to use that lesson.
Yes, she could have. Although she would say, it's just until it feels right. Okay, that's starting to look really good. All the sugar is mixed into the flour, or into the butter. So now I'm going to add a teaspoon of vanilla. And I know well, you know what? I just said measure correctly, so I will measure the vanilla this time.
Set an example for the kids.
Here we go. So 1 teaspoon of vanilla. And then we'll do 1 egg, if you want to crack that in.
Sure. The whole thing?
Yep.
All right.
And then I just tuck my eggshells right into the sink.
Perfect.
And we're going to mix this in. So I'll let you do that again because I'm too weak.
This is what you hire the muscle for.
Exactly. So we do it 1 egg at a time so that it has a chance to really incorporate into the butter and become one. If you do both eggs, it'll tend to separate and kind of look like a curdled mess, and we don't want that.
Okay. So what are your favorite Christmas cookies?
Oh, I like sugar cookies with icing.
Yeah.
It has to be icing, or I'm a chocolate chip girl.
Ah.
I can always go for a chocolate chip cookie.
Yum.
What about you?
Yeah, I would agree. The sugar cookies, when I was growing up, we would always make sugar cookies and then have a decorating contest.
Oh, fun.
And so usually I'm not very artistic, so I always lost, but I love eating them. So even if you lose, you still get to eat them, which is delicious.
Yeah, and then really everyone's a winner in that
Everyone
scenario.
It's true, and the more frosting, the better.
Okay, now I'm going to add in our cream, which is right here. You keep mixing.
All right.
And this says a half a cup of cream. So I'm gonna eyeball this.
All right.
And there we go, half a cup of cream.
Okay.
And because she didn't give me a specific amount of flour, that's why I can eyeball the cream. But at home, measure it. This is looking good, nice and creamy. Okay.
All right.
So now I'm gonna add in our leavening agents, our baking soda and our baking powder.
Now by leavening agent, for the kids at home, what does that do?
That makes the cookies puff up
Ah.
and get nice and fluffy.
Yum.
There's our first batch of flour. And then we're gonna scoop some more and level it off.
I just got flour all over us. Now we're having fun.
Yeah, now it's baking.
I know whenever we bake with my kids, we have to clean the whole kitchen afterward, but they love it.
So that is starting to look good, but it definitely is too soft. You want to be able to roll this dough out.
Okay.
So we'll go ahead and add that second cup of flour.
Alrighty.
And my guess is that we're gonna need another half cup because Pastor just put half a cup on the floor.
I sure did. All over my
And on his
shoes,
shoe.
all over my shirt. I missed you, so.
We should have brought an apron for this.
This is half the fun.
Okay, now we're gonna do just about a half a cup. We want to be able to roll these out.
Perfect.
There you go.
So how many cookies will this make?
This will make, does Grandma tell us? She does not, it's a surprise. I'm
Ah.
guessing about 2 to 3 dozen once it's rolled out.
Okay.
And that will depend on the size of your cookie cutters. I
Oh,
have
fun.
like a medium
Okay.
size here.
Oh, it looks like we have some fun shapes to make.
Yes, I brought all my Christmas shapes.
Nice.
Okay, and now I'm gonna clear a little space so that we can roll this out on the counter once it's ready.
Okay.
And actually, I think we do need a little bit more flour because it's still just too sticky.
All right.
So let me give you another half a cup. And then I'm gonna sprinkle a little on the counter.
Okay.
And we do that so that when we roll it out, the dough won't stick to the counter and it'll be easy to make our cookies perfectly the first time. Moms, the most important part of mixing is having a strong assistant. This is where dads come in.
Man, mixing those cookies, that's a workout. I'm tired.
I can take a turn if you need.
My hand's getting tired. I'll let you do it.
And I think we're just about there. This looks right to me. So you guys can see it's holding its shape. And it's still a little sticky, but I think good enough that we can put it on this pile of flour and roll it out.
Okay.
So let's scrape our spoon because we want to keep all this goodness to ourselves and not leave it in the bowl. And then I'm just going to spread out this flour a little bit
Alrighty.
so we have a nice surface to work with. And dump out the cookie dough.
Perfect.
Perfect. Can you stick that in the sink for me?
Of course.
And now take another little handful of flour and just sprinkle it over the top. And this is going to keep the cookie dough from sticking to your hands.
Playing it like a drum.
Okay, a little bit more flour. And now we're going to roll it out. And actually, I'm going to flour more surface so that as we roll it out, it doesn't stick to the counter anywhere.
Okay. And how thick do you want it to be?
I like it about between 1/4 and 1/2 inch.
Okay.
So I will show you what that looks like in just a minute.
Sounds good.
It looks like this. Because I like a cookie with a little bite. Okay, now here's something that I do that not everybody does. I like to take my sprinkles. Can you open the green one?
Of course.
My hands are all sticky.
There
I'll
you
have you open that one too. Okay. I like to take my sprinkles at this point and go ahead and sprinkle it all over the dough. We'll do lots of different colors. so that it really looks Christmassy.
We might need to get a knife.
We can do that if we need to.
Is it perforated? Can't tell what it's doing.
Haha, I got the gold one open.
Did you?
So we'll do green and gold and red, and it will look all sorts of Christmas. But what you want to do is once you get your sprinkles on, take your hand and pat them in so that they stay put while you cut out your cookies. There we go.
And the reds are still stuck.
They're still stuck. We'll be back with red.
We will be back soon.
12 seconds later.
We're back with red. So we're going to sprinkle the red on here too. Now it's looking like Christmas.
It sure is.
And then we're going to grab our cookie sheet.
Okay.
And we're going to cut out some cookie dough in just 1 minute.
I most definitely cannot recommend eating raw cookie dough because while it is delicious, it has raw eggs in it.
Okay, perfect. Now we get to do the super fun part, which is cutting out our cookies.
Oh,
so
fun.
pick whichever shape you like.
Ooh, I'll
and
do a
go
snowman.
to town.
All right.
Here we go. And if the cookie lifts up, that's perfect. You just lay it right onto a lined baking sheet. You want to have that parchment on there so your cookies don't stick.
Okay. Now, does it matter if you do parchment or if you spray it at this point?
Yes, it does. If you spray it, they will still stick. So do parchment, or if you have like a silicone baking mat at home, you could use that instead too.
My sugar cookie lost his arm.
Okay, Pastor Jimmy and I are just gonna cut out a few more cookies, and then we're gonna pop these in the oven for 8 minutes at 325.
All right.
We'll be right back. Now that the cookies are in the oven, let's get to the icing. Okay, now we get to do the part that I think is the best part of any sugar cookie.
Which is?
The icing.
All right. Now, the cookies are in the oven, so they have a few minutes left.
Yep, and while they're going, you can whip up your frosting. This is a buttercream frosting.
Okay.
And it's pretty simple. You throw some butter in a mixer, turn it on high. We're doing 1 stick of butter
All right.
because we don't need a ton of icing.
Okay.
Put it on the highest setting and just let it go until it's starting to get really light and pale.
All right.
That looks good.
Perfect.
So now we're gonna scrape down the sides
All
to
right.
bring all the butter back into the middle and make sure we don't miss any when we add the sugar.
Now we're ready to eat it.
Yeah, it would taste pretty gross right now.
Be light, fluffy butter. Huh?
Light, fluffy butter. So now let's add the stuff that makes it delicious.
All right. Which is what?
We're gonna add a drizzle of vanilla.
Okay. Not a dash. We have a drizzle
A
here.
drizzle, yes. We're gonna add about a tablespoon of cream,
Okay.
like that. And then if you can open up the powdered sugar,
Sure.
we are gonna add 2 to 3 cups of powdered sugar.
All right. There we go.
Perfect. So then we're just gonna pour this in. This box is 4 cups of powdered sugar, so we're
Okay.
gonna add not quite all of it, but we'll start with half. There we go. Maybe a little more. All right. So now we turn it on again, slowly at first, so your sugar gets incorporated into your butter and doesn't puff out all over your counter,
Of course.
because moms don't want to clean up a big mess.
Yes.
So be as clean as you can.
Miniature explosion from the kitchen area.
I made a lot of miniature explosions as a kid, and my mom would come in and just shake her head and turn around and walk out.
Of course. So when did you start cooking?
I was 7 when I made my first full meal by myself.
Wow.
I made chili with boxed cornbread and boxed brownies, and I was
Nice.
very excited.
Yes, I bet your parents were too.
Yes, my dad said it was the best chili he'd ever had, which was clearly a lie, but
Yes, but it
very
kept you
nice of
cooking.
him. Yes, it did. Okay, while this goes, I'm going to check on our cookies.
All right.
We're getting close.
Almost there. So how long does this need to go?
This is going to whip for about 5 minutes. We want to let it get really fluffy, because
Okay.
the fluffier it is, the yummier it is.
A few moments later.
Okay, now it's time for our favorite part of the whole day, decorating.
Yes.
I'm going to start with some red,
All right.
and you start with the green.
Okay.
And I'm going to decorate my little snowman. Now, you might notice that these cookies didn't hold their shape very well. And that's fine. All that means is that we needed more flour.
Oh, okay.
So we did 2 cups to start with, and we added 2 half cups more, which equals 1 cup. So I would say we need 3 and maybe 1 more half a cup of flour.
Oh, that sounds good.
And that would make them the perfect consistency to hold their shape.
Well, they're still going to be absolutely delicious.
Yes, I'm excited to eat them. Okay. I'll switch when you're done.
Perfect.
Thank you.
There you go.
I'm gonna add a little green smiley face
Oh, nice.
for my snowman. Oh, that looks scary. It's a little green scary face. And some sprinkles. Would you like some sprinkles?
Of course. Thank you.
I'm not one to judge other people's decorating skills, but Pastor Jimmy might need a little more practice. All right. And now we get to eat them. Bon appetit.
Bon appetit.
Mmm,
That's delicious.
these cookies are so yummy.
Mm-hmm.
Thank you, Grandma, for the recipe.
So this was so much fun, and those cookies, well, they're delicious.
Thanks you all for tuning in, and I hope that I get to see your pictures of your cookies that you've made. I'm very excited for all of you to make some, and make sure you invite your friends over to watch and try. And thank you, Pastor Jimmy, for joining us this week. Make sure that you guys go to ChristmasSuite.com to get the recipe and to find out when our premiere date is. Make sure you post your pictures too, because I want to see how you did making them. Until next time, I'm Chef M, and this is Pastor Jimmy. Say goodbye, Pastor.
Goodbye.
Sitting by the fire and tree, drinking hot cocoa, you telling us the story of Mary, Joseph, and Jesus is my favorite part of Christmas. But the other day, Eleanor came down with a fever and a bad cough. We don't think it's the wisest choice for us to be together for Christmas tomorrow.
Even if we can't be together, kids can't miss the Christmas story this season. I need them to know the light still shines in this dark world.